Welcome to Miasmic, an interactive narrative game prototype. This game is based on the true finding of the spread of cholera and how it had been caused during 1854. However, there was no plague doctor during this. In this world, you are a mute plague doctor who is accompanied by their pet and best friend Corvus, a mischievous but helpful raven that trusts no one other than the plague doctor due to past incidents. Yourself, the plague doctor, had lost your parents in the past and got brought up by an old plague doctor who is no longer around, leaving you to be the only one in London. You swore to help all the people within London, especially the sick. Since the plague doctor had found Corvus, once injured, he has never left their side, helping them on so many journeys and bringing them many useful items. While in London on the 31st of August 1854, Corvus brings the plague doctor a newspaper that reads, "Cholera outbreak. To all the people of London, there has been a mass outbreak of a disease, cholera. I advise all people stay indoors and keep distance from each other. We are starting to believe it is travelling through miasma. If you believe you may have this disease, look for these symptoms: diarrhea, vomiting, and nausea." There is then a name on the back that reads John Snow, who at the time was a well-known physician. Plague doctor then takes it upon themselves to find John Snow, as he may know how the cholera has been spread. At the start of this journey, both Corvus and the plague doctor have to find out more information where John Snow may have headed, and if he may have possibly left any information behind. One key place they get information from that then allows them to proceed is from the pub, where a barman tells them that John Snow had recently visited and may have slightly mentioned going into the catacombs. Once the player has finished collecting information, they can then follow Corvus to the entrance of the catacombs, where the door has been broken into. A note that Corvus finds and brings to you confirms that John Snow has indeed gone through the catacombs to get to Soho, London to conduct more research. The player will then have to try and survive through the catacombs due to miasma by putting herbs in their mask and collecting more information to understand the cholera while they make their way to John Snow, who is now in Soho, London. Once they reach their destination, they find that John Snow is at the centre of Soho and is inspecting a water pump, where he then reveals that cholera is being spread through the water. The player can tell John Snow that they must urgently head back to the centre of London, due to it possibly spreading any quicker. John Snow realises that you, the plague doctor, spent time and possibly risked your life to find him to help the people of London. He offers to teach you everything he knows so you can also become a physician, which the player can then choose if the plague doctor will become a physician or if they will stay as the plague doctor. Here are some of the key ways the player interacts with the NPCs and the story throughout the game. 1. They use a notebook to ask key questions to gather more information from NPCs. 2. They can keep notes and newspapers as well as any useful items inside of their satchel for them to use later. Once in the catacombs, they will have to use herbs to keep away the miasma so they do not die of any sickness. And lastly, Corvus will go for some times in the catacombs to collect any items that may be useful to the plague doctor, such as notes or maybe even herbs. The prototype does not explore all of these elements within this game, but if I was to make this into a full game, I would want it to be a first-person visual novel, similar to games like Doki Doki Literature Club. It would also be a horror, making it especially intense in the catacombs due to the lack of lighting. To create this, I would need a team that includes artists and programmers. The artists will create the visual look of the game, such as the environments and the NPCs that the player will see throughout the game. Then we have the programmers. They will create the code that allows the player to be able to explore through the game and make choices, as well as add in an inventory system and a health when it comes to them entering the catacombs. I will then be the narrative writer and designer, keeping check that everyone fills their roles, as well as then creating more of the narrative. I will finalise the different areas that the player can explore to gather more information, as well as creating what information that can go towards the lore of the game within the catacombs. Thank you for watching the overview of my game Miasmic. I hope you enjoyed.